If I start with the creator herself, Alankrita, could you talk to me about the origin of Bombay Begums? Please do definitely talk about the title because it's fascinating. And where did it start? Did it start with only Rani? Did it start with someone else? And then you got to other women? Or did you have these women in mind from the word go?
It didn't have this name. This name came a bit later. It had some other name. But this idea has been with me for many, many years. I think it was 2012 or 13 when I first thought of this idea. And I think there are two reasons that it came to me. One is my mother is from IIM Ahmedabad, but she's not followed a corporate career. She's been in the development sector. And in her batch, there were only 4 women. And I don't know, I had some conversation with her about how like these 4 women, none of them actually followed through with the full corporate path like the men in their batch. And I just started thinking about it. And then, of course, on the other hand, there were so many women one read about, who were heading banks in India. And then I think there was this constant thing that I always sensed with women who were in the corporate sector. A lot of my school friends as well, who were in the corporate sector, but also were like managing homes and trying to figure out when they should have a baby and all that. So I think all these kind of things sort of came together in my head to form this idea. I lived with it for a while. Initially, I thought it might be that time that, digital platforms are not there. I thought maybe it would be a TV series. So I developed it a little bit and then I kind of put it aside and I didn't know what I'll do with it. I think Lily was the last character, honestly, that arrived. The other 4 characters were kind of had come earlier. And then I decided to add Lily because I felt like it's nice to have somebody from another world enter their world. Then I thought of a title and I thought of Bombay Begums because I just felt like it should be about women wanting to own the city and run the city.
Talking about collaborators, of course, I have to speak about the fantastic actors. I mean, Pooja and Shahana, first of all, because we don't get to see them often on screen, and to just see them in those parts, I think I absolutely enjoyed it. And I really cannot wait to binge watch this because this is going to be the series that I am now going to see tonight. So if I ask Pooja, first of all, Pooja, what about Rani did really strike you, that you knew that this is a part I cannot let go?
I mean, most certainly the title, I think, which grabbed you as well, which you find quite fascinating. The world that it's set in, the fact that I get to play my age and not have to compete with somebody who's half my age or try to kind of, either look older or younger than I am. I think that is a privilege in the times that we live in. And anywhere in the world for that matter, not only in India. And I think that it deals with subjects that we need to talk about more. And I think, of course, beyond that, I think it's the complexities of all the characters and the kind of, pressure that we put on ourselves and each other. And how cruel we are to each other without realizing, and how, when you least expect it, it is actually another woman who kind of gives you that thrust to be able to go out there and, push yourself harder. So I think that it was a combination of all of that, and especially the fact that Alankrita was directing it and she wanted me in this so badly, and I'm like, wow, somebody actually wants me that badly. It's good to be kind of coveted in that way. It's very flattering, and it was Netflix, which has really changed the way we all perceive entertainment.
Shahana, like I had said about Pooja also, we don't get to see you that much, so I think we kind of devour every bit of you on screen. And I love, about you in this show is that this is a very successful woman, and who is not really reminded of the fact that she is not able to conceive, but her internal guilt is just not stopping her. And that's something that I think as women we all face, that sometimes even people around us are kind of nonchalant about many things because they are okay with the fact that we might not be doing the stereotypical things, but we aren't okay somehow. did that bit about her kind of also resonated with you? If you could talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, actually, as you're saying it, funnily enough, we were just talking about how, for me personally, guilt is a very deep-rooted problem, and it comes in the way of a lot of things. And it, like you said, it is a pressure that I put on myself. Nobody is expecting anything of me, but it's something that I put on myself. So, but I never made that connect really so precisely with Fatima and myself up until this point, till you mentioned it. So thanks for that little pearl. But it's true that what fascinated me about her was the fact that for all that hard exterior that she has, there's so much going on, and that hard exterior is to kind of cage in all the turmoil and to not. She's clearly somebody who's used to being very independent in a certain way, and therefore is also continuing to try to be emotionally independent, but she's struggling with so much that it's also this thing of, and that's also something I struggle with in a way, because when you're used to being independent, and it's not even about being a woman or a man, I think it's just when you're used to being independent, you forget that that doesn't mean that you cannot ask for help. She thinks she can handle it herself, and the handling is just to push it aside and deal with the next crisis, to push herself into work, to avoid it by focusing on what she thinks she has in her control, which is her job. But even there, she's constantly being thrown moments of crisis that are not in her control. And then, of course, there is the constant struggle with the body, where you think it's yours, but in life, nothing is really in our control. It's an illusion. And it's an illusion we hold on to with the hope, which comes from insecurity. It's just to feel a sense of false security. So I think it was interesting to be able to what I related with Fatima on is the fact that the universe is pushing her to ask herself the real questions, which is, do you really know who you are? Do you really know what you want? Why do you want what you want? And why do you not want what you want? Or what you don't want?
For Shai, I first of all, I think she represents what we really find girls and younger women a lot online now. Much more vocal about what they want, how they want. And what also happens, because I have also struggled with what Shai, has been shown struggling with, is a lot of times we are very vocal about our desires. We might not be knowing a lot, but we sometimes ignore the desires of our parents or of women who are older than us. What I loved about the first episode that I saw with your conversation with Plabita, where she's like, you should do what you want to do. If you want to be a prostitute, it's your body, your choice. And she's like, you're so intelligent at such a young age. There's so much naivety, also such intelligence in this young woman. But at the same time, she cannot see Rani's pain. She overlooks it, conveniently because of her own personal issues that she's had. So could you talk to me about playing Shai? What did you understand of her and of all the insecurities and the desires that she's right now battling?
So you're right in that way where you say that she knows what's going on and she just says it. And the scenes with Plabita, Aisha, of course, it was how she reacted based on what Aisha said. She didn't think too much and just said what she felt. But when it comes to Rani, I feel that she just doesn't want to fall into any of her situations. She just doesn't even want to think of her, I guess, because she is replacing her dead mom. And it's not that she has any personal grudge against her, but it's just that she doesn't like anyone maybe replacing her mom. That's why she just shuns that aside. And whatever she talks is true because it's coming from the heart. And she is this person who sees other people. She wants to be like that. And what I learned from Shai is that she is straightforward, yet a bit different in what she says.
Amruta, welcome. I have to say this, like Alankrita mentioned in the beginning, that Lily brings a different energy, to the
Yes.
whole setting.
Yeah.
And absolutely, again, enjoyed watching you. But what I have always loved about Alankrita is the intersectionality that she brings in while telling women's stories. So while these four women girls are going through a different thing, but in a similar setup. Yours is a different world altogether.
Right.
And your
Right.
struggles are absolutely different. And that remarkable scene when your cab passes Aisha's car when she's going with the boss. And you see her in that situation with her boss, and you're so angry because she hasn't picked your call. And, in that moment, you also understand that while one woman might be facing a different struggle, another woman has a completely departure from what she's feeling. So talk to me about that. How exciting, Amruta, for you was to be part of Bombay Begums and what Lily was going through.
It was really, Priyanka, it was really exciting. And especially the scene you mentioned, there is a sentence which was interesting for me to portray, where she says ki marzi ke bina sex mein to apna PhD hai. That's what she says, because the kind of life she's living, she has to do it maybe every day. She always says that motherhood is my dharma. So her life is revolving around her son. So that makes her character more interesting. That space was completely different, new to me, and I must mention that Alankrita has written that amazingly well. And then she made me meet Reshma Appa from Kamathipura, and then she opened her life to me. Reshma Appa is herself a bar dancer, and then she welcomed me, and then I spent a whole day with her, and then she gave me soul of Lily, and then that was really an interesting journey.
Alankrita, and also to Amruta, I would like to mention this here also, that how when Shai says about prostitution, that it's your body, it's your choice. While there is this girl who clearly is a pro-choice, we have a woman who is into that field, who is into that world, and only she knows what
Yes.
goes into her life of being a sex worker, and of the struggles and the shame that she is subjected to. She's unapologetic about her life, but the world makes her feel ashamed of it. And that is so beautiful and powerful. And sometimes what happens with a lot of women's stories also, they tend to be one-dimensional. But
Yes,
here with this, it felt like that it's a lot of different perspectives coming together.
That's because the way Alankrita has written it, the different dimensions she gave to that character, because I always say that content is the queen of this show, and that's why, Lily is also such a complex character, as you said, and you very beautifully said that only she knows what happens in her profession, what she has to do. I mean, only she knows. And so that's why these different shades I could maybe you could see, because Alankrita and the team they have written it so beautifully.
Right, Alankrita, I would definitely want to ask you about, again, intersectionality, which is a running theme from Lipstick to Dolly Kitty. We are seeing these women as who they are. They don't need to be morally upright, and they have their own flaws, their own insecurities, and they will also put down each other because of their own prejudices, of their own gender. And for me, if to watch that in your content is always amazing and uplifting. So talk to me about that, because I love the scene between Rani and Devyani, when Devyani is like, you don't ask that question to a man, how does he handle work with home, being a father? And then Devyani is like, I would like to take that question. And that is a different perspective that also needs to come out, that there is a woman who's trying so hard to be a good mother. And just because it's a sexist question or not, cannot be used to invalidate perhaps her experience. And her voice needs to be out there too. So, Alankrita, could you please talk to me about that? What's your fascination with this, which is rare in a director in Hindi films?
I mean, I think that women are complex creatures because, I think like the subjugation of women has just gone on for too long. And I think there's a lot that is inherently like it has shaped us, and we also perpetuate. I think the most feminist of women also perpetuate patriarchalism. So, I think it's like we are not all like we can't always see things clearly in every situation, and I think there's a constant process of learning and unlearning. So I think I like to explore that because I don't feel women are perfect, and they don't need to be perfect, And the other thing is, I am not so into this like let's be buddies kind of female bonding, which is okay, but I think it's so much more complex than that in an Indian context, especially where it's not about just partying together and going shopping together. I mean, it's really about how we view, whether it's women in our families or it's our contemporaries or it's our bosses and all that. So I find like I find interesting to explore the dynamics between women without just necessarily that conventional thing of this, the story of these two friends, like what if they are not actually friends, but and I think motherhood per se, I think is a very interesting theme for me in Bombay Begums also. So when you see the whole show, I think right now you've only seen episode 3, but because all of them are dealing, like 3 of the characters, actually in fact 4, because Shah is also kind of dealing with the idea of like, what should she do about her dead mother? And her entire voiceovers actually led us to her dead mother, thoughts that she's sharing with her dead mother. So, I feel like motherhood is also like something which I feel can't be like it's just not this perfect thing. Lily is a great mother, but she's not a perfect mother. Rani's trying hard, but she's not a perfect mother. So I just feel like this perfection that we expect from women, of being perfect wives, perfect mothers, perfect daughters, and also if as bosses they should be soft also, kind also, like meticulous also, it's just too much. So I think it's nice to just look at them as real people. And I think for me, everything just stems from looking at women just as they are, more intimately and without judgment. And I think without judgment is the key, because I think this morality that we tend to thrust upon women for me is unbearable.